Hello, I'm Shrankla Holochak, the founder and CEO of Uma, an Ayurvedic beauty and wellness collection. This is the Uma Elements podcast. Each week, I'll be having a conversation with someone I greatly admire on the topics of Ayurveda, holistic healing, spiritual well-being, and alternative health. By sharing wisdom, together we will unlock a secret that, as ancient as they are, Ayurveda and other ancient modalities are as modern and relevant today as ever. Today's guest on the podcast is Dr. Varalakshmi. Dr. Varalakshmi is a qualified Ayurvedic doctor and practitioner from India with 11 years of experience practicing Ayurveda in the UK. Throughout her career, she has worked closely with both women and men suffering from chronic digestive and hormonal ailments. By implementing Ayurvedic principles and practices into their lives, these individuals have experienced profound healing under the care of Dr. Varalakshmi. Dr. Varalakshmi firmly believes that our bodies possess innate intelligence and are capable of self-healing. The key lies in creating an ideal environment that stimulates the body's natural healing mechanisms. Join us on this episode of the Uma podcast as we delve into Dr. Varalakshmi's personal journey with Ayurveda and discover how this ancient science can empower all of us to embark on a path of self-healing and well-being. Hi, Dr. Varalakshmi. It's such an absolute pleasure to connect with you on this podcast. And I'm having a bit of a fangirl moment. I've long followed you on your Instagram and absolutely love the wisdom and the insight you share on Ayurveda with audiences across the world. So thank you again for taking the time to be with us today and sharing all your wisdom.
Thank you so much for having me, Shrankala, right?
Yes,
sorry.
yes.
Did I pronounce it right?
You did. No worries at all. With these many consonants in my name, I never take it personally when it takes someone one try or like 20 tries to get it right. So no worries at all.
I'm really glad to be here and excited to have this conversation. I do believe that even though had done a couple of podcasts in the past, every time I'm doing it and talking about Ayurveda, it always makes me jump with excitement, even though some of the conversations can be basic, ranging to, very much deep conversations. But I'm really excited for what we are going to be talking today and to be here today.
Thank you so much again. And I know you've answered this question 50 different ways, 500 different times, but it's always interesting to our listeners and me personally as to what one's personal journey into Ayurveda was. So I'll start with that basic question. What drew you to Ayurveda as a system of medicine? And personally, how do you think it differs from other forms of medicine that exist?
I do agree that I have answered this many times before, but it's, like one of those things where you're meant to end up doing, maybe. I do think that growing up, I was such a science girl. I used to love everything that is modern medicine, everything that is modern science. Like I used to just, when I'm studying biology is my favorite subject, and I grew up dreaming to become a doctor. But when I was around 16 years old, I had when I was like that hormonal phase of like every girl has problems with periods and stuff. At that time, I used to suffer a lot with my gut as well as hormonal imbalances and issues. So I have seen many modern doctors in my hometown. I grew up in this very small town or in South India, and it's a very small and quiet place. But
whereabouts, if you don't mind my asking?
I'm from Andhra Pradesh, and the town is called Kakinada. So I grew up there, and my dad had took me to so many gynecologists at that time. And then I have seen so many normal doctors as well. None of them could actually help me to resolve any of the health concerns that I'm going through at that phase. And then my dad one day told me that, oh, I know this Ayurvedic doctor who is a government Ayurvedic doctor.
Mm-hmm.
He has this small private practice at his home. Let's go see him. He may give you some powders. You may not like it, you know how it goes for a teenager to swallow some powders. I was like very much like a critical, like, oh, Ayurveda, what is this? I don't believe in this alternative medicine. It's just placebo. This is literally what I used to believe when I was that age. I used to think like this. As ironic it may sound that I ended up becoming like or practicing it, but
You
at
know,
that
isn't
time,
that the beauty of life, having some of our core assumptions challenged and totally turned around with more information? It's a great reminder every day to be more tolerant and accepting and open. But I love that you say that. But please go on.
yeah, so then he took me there, and then there was this huge line, and outside his home, it's a very small Indian house, where we have like a roof, not like a big building or anything, but there are all these new mothers who are carrying their newborn babies who are just crying. And then it was Indian summer, because like you have holidays, only time that my dad can take me and I have free time with all the studying and everything was during my holidays. So he thought that it's good, so we went there, and nobody is actually caring that it's a Indian hot summer afternoon. And then they're all having little babies, new mothers, and a huge line waiting till like end of that street. Because my dad knows the doctor
Mm-hmm.
and a personal friend, he asked us to come so that I can go sit while he is checking other patients and everything. And because he know that I'm keen in studying biology at that time, the doctor was very nice and he asked me to come around and sit. Then the first thing, one of the very first things that shifted my perspective into health, medicine, and everything, until that point in my life, the only thing I know a doctor will do when someone comes to see them is to give them medicine. Or he will use his stethoscope to check, and then hardly he may say, like, oh, go get this blood test. And these are the only things that I understood until that point, because my knowledge and depth when it comes to health is like, oh, doctor will just ask you few questions, check you on with the stethoscope, maybe sometimes check blood pressure, and then he will give you some medicine. This is what. But then it that day when I sat there for that maybe half an hour or so, I started noticing the way that doctor is actually checking someone. And one of the fascinating things is he checked the pulse, their pulse, and then he said these weird things. At that time, they sounded weirder to me, like, oh, what did you eat last night? Did you eat some pickle? And then he will also say, like, you're not sleeping at night, are you? Why are you not sleeping at night? And then he will also say, like, are you going toilet? Like, are you going toilet first thing in the morning? And all these questions sounded me, and he will be more inquiring about what they were eating for 2 days, 3 days. And then he will also be talking to the breastfeeding mothers. Most of them who came to him are breastfeeding mothers with little babies having problems. So the main focus is on the mother, because mother is the main one who is giving them nourishment. So he used to talk about all the different aspects of that mother, whether she's sleeping, whether what she is eating, what she done throughout the day. So it was like, I was like, why is he caring about all these things? Why can't he just check the baby and give the medicine and send them away? This is what I was thinking in that moment, until actually my turn came. And then when my turn came, he checked my pulse, and he actually guessed everything that I am doing wrong. Like, as a growing up teenager, you have exams to read, and then you have all these odd times that you are, doing different things. You eat when you are like when you don't have any other exam stress or something, or some days you're not eating. So he pointed out everything that I'm doing wrong in my routine. And then also he very nicely pointed out all the food that I'm doing nutrition wise, what I'm doing wrong. At first, I was very skeptical, but then he gave me some Ayurvedic medicine, which is handmade by his assistant who is sitting over there, and she's just grinding. He will sit there and tell, like, oh, mix this two powders, two churnams together and grind and give this to this lady, or like that. Every patient that comes in, he will immediately tell her what she need to grind, and then she used to grind and give it to them. Same way, he told me one medicine and he gave it to me. So this problem of health or whatever, I'm thinking like it's never gonna get solved for me. I was feeling better within 2 weeks to 3 weeks. Even though I was very skeptical teenager with a lot of other perspective, or rather, not having any positive thinking towards Ayurveda, I ended up getting fascinated, and I ended up being very enthusiastic. Like, curiosity, you can say, it spiked my curiosity level so much that I decided to spend my entire summer with him, just observing him, and then just grinding those medicines for him, and then learning those Ayurvedic herbs, and just few things that he can teach me without actually having a proper degree or something. So after that, I went on and did a Ayurvedic degree, and yeah, I think this is where we are right now.
It's amazing. A few things really stood out about that story, specifically how you started about, the journey is supposed to bring you where you're at. And I love that there is a parallel in Ayurveda about sort of, trusting your body and in a little bit your environment to always be leading you in directions that you're meant to thrive in. So I love that you started the story with saying that this is where I was supposed to, sort of end up without knowing it. And I think there is something lovely about that leap of faith and positivity in trusting that, our bodies and sometimes our environments want the best for us at the end. And also something about, the personalized aspect of Ayurveda and its wholesome nature, in that it's all of you, it's all of your environment, it's all of your mother and father and more. And to me, there's just something so vast and magnificent about trusting that about Ayurveda, that I love it. The parallel between the individuality and at the same time the relatedness of us all is quite profound to me. So to me, that story has so much resonance across so many tenets and facets of Ayurveda that it plays very nicely. And now that you have all this knowledge, experience, expertise, I'd love to hear a little bit about how you, many years later, go about assessing an individual. Many people struggle with the idea of doshas, and I'll be the first to admit, these online dosha quizzes are a decent place to start in the absence of having a practitioner or having access to a good practitioner, but it can be confusing. So you, as a veteran doctor, how do you assess someone's individual constitution or dosha or prakriti when you meet with them?
So with the increasing knowledge and then accessibility of a practitioner over online, about like before COVID, I never used to do any of these online consultations and stuff, but I think COVID has changed people's perspective. People are more actually open towards having that online consultations and stuff. But normally, if I see a person face to face, this is what I was doing for years together, and I am still doing in my practice, here in Birmingham in UK. So the first thing is always about like, to understand one's constitution. Ayurveda says that it all begins when your mother, like the first conception is when your prakriti is decided. And the major part of the prakriti means like the qualities and characteristics that we are inheriting. Some of it comes from our father and some of it comes from our mother. So the father and mother cell is where we inherit all of that. Same thing like modern science says, we get, our genetic characteristics. Some of them we get from mother and some of them from father. So Ayurveda says, talks in the similar manner, saying that the Prakriti is decided at the time of conception, and then when the genome, originally the cell, everything is formed, that's when it's all actually is decided, like, oh, this person will have this and this person will have that. So one of the first thing I ask someone when they come to understand the constitution or prakriti is to do things like, checking their pulse, nadi,
Mm-hmm.
but checking their tongue, and also the history of it, their mother's health, their mother's, if they were able to tell us anything about their mother's pregnancy, and if she faced any kind of abnormalities or imbalances during that period, how her mental state is, emotional state is when she was pregnant. This is where it all starts basically. That is a very important factor. It's not just about what is happening with you currently, but it is more or less about what you're carrying as that internally, the genetic characteristics and your mother. So for us, for me, most of the things as a person, if someone wants to know my constitution, they should also understand about me, but also make it a priority to know about my mother and her journey as well, her health as well, because that has a huge impact on our overall health and well-being. Ayurveda also clearly says like what the pregnant women does with her mental state, emotional state, nutrition, everything can have a long lasting impact on the baby for the years to come. And how good the babies, or once the child is born, their immunity is going to be. And this has been recently actually even also agreed by modern science. There are so many things, which are studies that are showing us, telling about the same concept as well. So the prakriti is many things, but it all starts at a very much primitive level than we actually understand. So I do take that much of history to understand their mother, maternal history and everything, but also check their pulse, tongue. And for women, it's important to know when their first menstrual period started. That also gives us an understanding of when the hormonal stage in someone has initiated. The age of, first menstrual cycle also gives us a clue of whether someone is having vata characteristics or someone is having pitta, someone is having kapha, because in general, a person with heat or pitta predominance in their body, they have earlier menstrual cycle. First menstrual cycle tend to be early, and then kapha usually have like moderately, depending upon their metabolic state and stuff like that. But vatas can have a late period, so these are some of the important things that I would actually pay attention to, along with all the other things. Yeah, I would also like to highlight that Prakriti is not just one of the assessment factor that we consider. As a Ayurvedic practitioner, we have like Dasavida Pariksha, means 10 different aspects that we need to check about a person, and Prakriti is just one of it. So for us to assess someone, to understand their health state, we need to assess 9 other different factors. Sara, Bala, Ayu. So like that, there are 9 other different things like, Mala, Mutra. So we need to check all of those things.
Gosh, this has been so informative, even for me. And I like to think I have a little bit of an early immersion into Ayurveda, but I know that our audience will love hearing about this. And since you've already started us off, Dr. Varalakshmi, I'd love to hear about the journey of Ayurveda that a patient or someone who's consulting with you will go through, in terms of what you would like to address first, what supplements, when they check in with you, when they can start to expect results. I'd love it if you could paint a picture of that for us.
Yeah, sure. Like normally, I believe, or Ayurvedic, how we actually help someone heal, unlike modern medicine or other kinds of forms of medicine and stuff. The most important aspect when it comes to healing is the person's diet. Like diet, when I say, it may sound like we are just talking about the solid and liquid food, but it's not just that. It's about what you are consuming in the form of information as well, because the three main causes of disease that Ayurveda describes, one of them is hina midya ati yoga of, sense organs, which is like the improper usage of sensory organs is one of the main reason for us to get sick. So you have to understand that whenever we are talking to me as a practitioner, I give a huge importance to diet, but that diet just doesn't mean that we are just focusing on the what you are eating as a physical form of food, but it also includes like what you are consuming, how is your mental state, how you are able to, are you carrying any trauma from your past, are you able to release your emotions properly, in a safe as well as, and you're not withholding any of them, because that plays a huge role in our healing. When we are not able to address emotions and then carry them, excessive emotions you call it, or unwanted emotions, or even the past, anything that you're carrying around, when you're supposed to let go, that is one of the reason for having problems, like especially kapha related imbalances, like someone feels heavy all the time, that heaviness, while they may be having some physical abnormality to do with the heaviness, they may be also or not actually able to address or release their emotions. But that is also important. So the diet, both physical and emotional aspect of what you are absorbing and eating, nutrition, taking it in, and as well as the lifestyle, like the routine is the very important aspect. What you're doing once you wake up in a given day, that is the second most important thing that I address, like helping them or encouraging them to understand that every single thing that we do can either overload our system or can actually help us to move or flow with life, because Ayurveda is so amazing in such a way that it's not so complex as we think. In the West, we think like all these huge Sanskrit names can make people scared, like, oh, doshas, vata, pitta, kapha. I need to understand the food combining. Some of these concepts can seem like too much for someone, but actually a very simple way to incorporate Ayurveda in your life is to just let life flow, or let the seasons flow, and you just adapt with regards to what is changing in your life, with regards to what is happening inside your life, as well as same time what is happening around you. So it's pretty much about like how you, whether you have the capability to adapt to the changing circumstances, changing seasons, changing internal seasons. So this is all Ayurveda is about. So if someone can understand that basic simple thing, it's as simple as just waking up and wearing, like in summer we are wearing, when it's hot you're wearing simple clothes which are like not so much, you're not wearing thick wool clothes or anything, right? You're wearing simple ones, cotton clothes and stuff. But when it's winter, you're wearing things which are made with wool or which are thick, so that you don't feel cold. Ayurveda is so simple like that, but you need to have that knowledge or understanding that it's that easy or simple.
That is so well put. I love that. And I will come back to asking in terms more of, a journey slash protocol with you, what that might look like, because I know so many people would be fascinated and also wanting to go on this journey. So to understand, after the initial assessment and understanding how this beautiful science of life works, how certain modalities might function, but what is a protocol with you? How often are they checking in? What supplements are they going on? And really, I know that this is a somewhat terrible question to ask within the context of Ayurveda, but we're also dealing with a lot of people in the West that want results early. So I'd love to hear from your perspective, when can they start seeing results, what their follow-up cadence looks like, how the results start changing with time, just painting that picture of going from a disease to a disease-free state.
It's different. The time period is different for each and every one of us. Someone's healing, it's not like, because Ayurveda is purely a individualized and personalized form of medicine. It's patient-centric medicine. We look at a person and their illness and then decide a protocol. With me, the 80% or 85% is based on diet. What they're eating is going to be the most important aspect. Physically and mentally what they're consuming, and then the 15% is medicine. I normally don't give any Ayurvedic medicine more than one or two at any given stage. I also like to understand, it's like a protocol, means when someone comes and see me first time, or when I do a online consultation, when we are doing assessment, when I do the assessment, I come up or I bring a protocol on the plate, and then I discuss this with the patient on the same day and tell them that these are the next steps that we are going to be following. It's very much detailed, it's all defined before even they start taking the medicine. Everything is predefined and we just follow those steps, and I will be with them throughout the journey. Generally nowadays the communication is quite easy, unlike in, you don't have to wait for 10 days to go see your doctor, or 2 to 3 weeks to go see your doctor. We can actually use our phone. I support the patient's journey through WhatsApp a lot. I keep checking upon them normally, but the main thing is to focus on helping them change their diet and lifestyle, with the digestion as the most important centerpiece of it, because it is my understanding, and Ayurveda also says that digestion, or if your Agni is not well, nothing else in your body can function well. Even our doshas, imbalances also can, the first thing, the dosha, if Vata gets imbalanced, the first thing it affects is our Agni. Same thing, if Pitta gets imbalanced, the first thing it can affect is our Agni. So if we can actually strengthen the Agni and then clear any imbalances for the person, everything else is much more easier to address afterward. So yeah, I think that is what I do. And yeah, we have usually check-ins for every 4 weeks. Normally I do have a call, or I ask them to come and see me within 4 weeks, but the general protocol is defined for every 4 weeks, and everyday conversations and support is via WhatsApp or phone as well.
That makes so much sense. Thank you for sharing that. And I think you started with this in your story, and I do want to revisit this because Ayurveda does face some misconceptions in the West. And in your experience, what are some of the most common instances of skepticism or resistance you've seen, either in your patients or others you might talk to about Ayurveda? And how do you try to sort of dispel some of those myths?
One of the things that I commonly see is that people are eager. There is a lot of eagerness as well as enthusiasm to try Ayurveda, given that, nowadays people are looking towards other sciences rather than just modern medicine and stuff. But I think there is this, it's not just one person or two people, but I think over this past 100 years or so, maybe 50 years or so, we as humans have become more accustomed to wanting or believing that things can be very instant. And there is this lack of awareness when it comes to understanding that our routine and basic simple things like waking up in the morning and then just preparing fresh food or taking time to eat fresh food can make a huge difference in our overall health. I do see that people can find it hard to, due to many reasons, like due to the busy life that some people are leading, due to the practicality in their life or so. But initially there is this resistance when I tell them that please try to eat fresh made food. This is because once you break that barrier and actually accept the reality that you have to invest time to become healthy, that is the perspective shift. Because right now many people are thinking, or even we have that, I think as humans also we thinking problem solution. Like problem, you have headache, you take a painkiller and you forget about it. Next time also you have a headache, you take the painkiller, but you're never actually stopping, taking a step back to understand, why am I getting headache every week? If I am taking that medicine, if actually the medicine that I took or whatever I took, if it actually helped me to get rid of the problem, why I keep getting it back? Or if you have acidity, then you are taking antacid or something. So it's almost like you have problem, then you are looking for solution then and there, and then you don't want to take anything. You don't want to go beyond the surface to understand why you have headache, why you keep feeling tired all the time, why you feel like drained down before period, why you have pain even though you are a healthy person, you're doing everything. What is it, that one thing? So there is no curiosity that you would expect, or there is no awareness. Let's not say curiosity, I would say awareness, to go beyond that basic thing of just assuming that pill is the only answer. I do see that that is the perspective shift that even in my practice, I this is what, even through my Instagram, I do that work and help people to bring the awareness. The whole point of this social media or all this information, even though there is loads and loads of information out there, idea is to change that perspective of a person. So
I agree that awareness is very important. I also actually like the word curiosity, because isn't it kind of sad that we're not more curious about our own bodies? It struck me as very interesting when you said that, because yes, there is this temptation to say, let me just fix this. But yes, there should be a natural curiosity about this beautiful body that serves you day in, day out, every day, and is your vehicle into this world for all intents and purposes, and that we're not curious about why it's acting up or reacting a certain way. So I kind of also take that away as I want to be more aware, but I also want to be more curious about my body. And you also touched on two areas that I know are very fundamental to your current practice: digestion and women's health. So I'd love to talk a little bit more about that. And let's start with women's health. I want to hear more about what you are seeing in your world, and then how you're helping people navigate these tough waters of women feeling quite unhealthy, as I can attest to myself, in having some of those quote unquote diseases, if you will, within that domain. So please.
absolutely. So I think when it comes to us women, I would like to say that once I finished my degree, as soon as I finished my degree, I ended up being in UK, got married, and then with my husband, I came here and I started my practice as soon as I came. And I did had a very hectic lifestyle, to be honest, and I used to work rather. I do have that energy at that time, also little bit less now, but there is more awareness to me to actually I grown up my I understood, and I had this, I developed this humbleness when it comes to not overworking or tiring myself. So why I am sharing my example is that all of us women who are modern, who want to do something with their professional life, who want to achieve and all these things, for all of you who are with me, or who are in the same stage, what I would like to say is like, it's important for us to understand that our bodies are very special. Especially our bodies are meant to give birth. We are like, it's amazing thing to give life, right? So we are meant to nurture ourselves. It's more or less nurturing is what we are lacking in modern day. we are thriving, we want to achieve. Yes, that is also great and amazing, but it is also important to take a step back and rest, because our womb is where all that, our grandmother or all that past trauma that we are carrying from generations, it goes into our womb. And it is important that we actually rest during period. And that simple understanding about the phases that we go through at different phases of our menstrual cycle, where to rest and where to jump around and do, super exciting things and all, should be the beginning, should be taught in schools, should be made aware in every family where there is a girl. They should be taught how they should take care of their bodies. I think we are lacking rest. If that made sense, I may have gone deeper into it.
No,
But
I love a lot of the stuff you touched on, including what the real definition of the buzzword self-care might look like. Particularly for me, I think I take it back to basically tweaking your life to respond better to the changing environment within you and outside you. And that is what Ayurveda, the journey of life, the teaching of life, the science of life looks like. And that to me is potent way of self-care, which is I need to respond to this change in my internal environment by taking it as a cue to rest. And I love that framing. So Dr. Varalakshmi, in terms of areas that you see women's health, digestion issues, what are some of the biggest complaints you are hearing? And I'd also love to hear about what are some of the biggest successes you have seen and are hoping to see in these domains with the use of Ayurveda?
So I work with a wide range of cases. Actually, they can range from, in digestion, normally I work with clients who have simple issues like IBS to or bloating, in digestion to, inflammatory bowel syndrome, colitis, even with ulcerative colitis. So, and Ayurveda is amazing, to be honest, for most of the digestive abnormalities, and where you think like modern science actually lacks some of these autoimmune disorders and stuff. The protocols that I use are very fast. Normally people feel much better with their digestion within, one week to 10 days. They can feel like very, very lighter and much better. And as well as their symptoms starts to improve within the first few weeks of working with me. When it comes to hormonal imbalances, actually I work with women mainly having problems to do with their periods, especially period pain and irregular period. Like conditions like PCOS is one of the very common condition that I work with, and then infertility associated with PCOS and endometriosis. These are some of the main health problems that I'm working with. And I can say with, like, I can say with confidence that Ayurveda can actually help regularizing periods to reduce the period pain, or to result in rather pain-free periods. Because women with conditions like endometriosis can have excruciating pain during their period, and often the diagnosis is one of the most difficult for them, because unless there is something like laparoscopy or so, you will not know whether someone has really endometriosis, that is the reason why they are having that much pain, or something else is going on. So in these kind of conditions, I'm seeing a huge, I'm seeing a very good prognosis when it comes to these conditions with the help of Ayurveda. And I follow like pure Ayurvedic protocols. I don't like to mix Ayurveda with anything else. Normally, when you come on board with me, anybody, I like to actually deal with just Ayurveda and then diet and lifestyle. And it actually simplifies a lot of what's going on with someone's health, because nowadays people are taking like tons and tons of supplements, and some of it is very helpful actually for some people with a good digestion. If you take supplements, like let's say like you take calcium supplement or maybe vitamin D supplement or B12, or even just like some of the other holistic things like ashwagandha, shatavari, all of these things have become so accessible nowadays that people are consuming them. But more or less often we don't, we many of them don't understand that if you don't have the ability to digest, and absorb the value of that supplement or nutrition, no matter what you're taking, it may not actually help you to fix whatever the problem that you have or the nutritional lack that you are having. So it's very important to have that understanding when it comes to working with someone. So that is why I try to keep it as simple as possible with my protocols and with my work with digestion, or whether it is hormonal issues that I'm working with women. So,
This is the point that I should remind our users to all definitely follow you on Instagram, because you share so many great tips about improving Agni, which helps digestion. But I might push you for a few freebie tips for people who may not be as familiar with your Instagram. What do you think are some of the things people might be able to do to improve their Agni? I understand it will differ person by person, but are there some universal tips you would give to people to improve their digestion?
absolutely. So, earlier I did talk about it briefly. One of the very important thing that Ayurveda recommends us to enhance our Agni is to eat lighter. So when I say lighter, there is this Western aspect too, that salads are being considered lighter, but we are not talking about salads, because Ayurveda says that any food that is cold and raw, like a solid food, even if it is a leaf or something like salad, it is still considered as a little bit difficult for our body to absorb when you're eating it, versus something that is pre-cooked. Because
Right.
internally the fire is what Agni means, literally means fire, right? But this fire, you have to imagine it's inside our stomach, and think of like something very cold. uh, if you have campfire or something going on, then if you are adding a cold water on it versus you are actually using something like a fuel, but it is not cold, like something like some wood which is warm, which is actually dried in sun,
Mm-hmm.
before you make the fire also, generally if it has wetness inside it, it doesn't properly ensure the fire goes on for longer, right? So
Sure.
same thing with our body. You should understand that something that is warm can help, or it's easier to quickly burn that thing inside our stomach. Same thing here. So the digestive juices and the Agni need something that is warm, something that is lighter. For example, like moong dal, I think it's the most famous thing that you can see in the Western world as well, and many people are including that, which is a very good thing. And there is red rice, which is one of the best form of rice that Ayurveda recommends, that one should include. Like satnya means something that is so, satnya, what is the word, like something that is so suitable, universally suitable or wholesome.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of lighter foods are said to be wholesome. So a very simple rule to follow to improve your Agni is to eat lighter food that is cooked, means warm, means temperature of the food should be warm. If that is not there, at least by adding, if you still want to eat salads and stuff, then on a hot sunny day it's easier to actually digest them, because the sun is hot, so externally you are getting that heat. Even if internally you have low Agni, it's easier to digest something like a salad when the sun is warm and you're in a warm place like a tropical country or so. So adding some spices like some cumin on the top and maybe a little bit of olive oil or sesame oil, or if you love ghee, then adding a bit of ghee can actually make that salad more easier for us to digest. Or simply steaming those greens can actually help us to digest them better. And the second most important thing is to eat when you feel hungry. This may sound very basic, right? But many people that come to me for fixing their digestion have no clue whether they really feel hungry, or they're just eating because it's 12 o'clock, or whether it's 9 o'clock so that you have to eat breakfast. We are so at some point we lost that connection with our body to know, okay, I'm really feeling hungry now, versus my schedule is so tight that I have to eat breakfast now, otherwise I will not have time. So this reality aspect of knowing actually you're feeling hungry is very, very important. So that awareness is what is important, but at least starting to become aware. So eating when you feel hungry. And then the third most important thing is having some form of movement, but doing that exercise on empty stomach, completely empty. So Ayurveda doesn't recommend us that we eat something and then go do exercise. It does not help our body in any way. And it could be the number one reason for us having indigestion and all those problems. So you should exercise on completely empty stomach. That helps our Agni to actually start our metabolism and to help us digest better through the day. So these are the three simple things I would advise anybody, and they don't cost anything. So I think, yeah.
That is so incredible. And, just going through this podcast taping, the importance of finding a good practitioner to work with when you are ready is so important. And it just underscores that to me. I'd love your advice on how someone like me or our audience can identify the right practitioner for them, because I'll be the first to admit, within the realm of Ayurveda, that's not easy to find. So, Dr. Varalakshmi, how does someone find a great doctor like yourself, and what are some of the things we should look for when we research who we should work with?
One of the very first things I would say is to actually follow their journey. Because in the world of information and social media, if we look at the quality versus quantity, it's difficult. You'll become overwhelmed with not knowing whether someone is a right fit for you or not. So it's important to know whether they have credibility. That I'm guessing everybody will check, like a real degree. And the second thing is to know whether they are actually experienced in what you are having currently, like, what health problems that you are having, versus the person actually worked with the similar kind of health problems. So it's important to first do that basic research before contacting anybody. And then following their journey means checking at the credibility, how deeply they are talking about when they are talking about something, and also connecting to them through, maybe if you are looking on Instagram, then talking to them, just like, messaging them and seeing how they are responding, and then if possible talking to them beforehand on a phone or something. And only if you feel comfortable, then you should go for them, I would say. But also important to see the case studies to like if someone is having digestive problems like IBS, then understanding whether this particular practitioner actually worked with IBS and whether they were able to help someone else heal that problem. And also, like, how many years of experience this practitioner has in that field. Yeah, and how much authentic they are. So I think these are all important questions that we need to be asking, because like you said, it's very difficult to find and trust someone with our health, and it is important that we do thorough research before giving our health or putting our trust in someone, right? So I think these are the few things I would advise. Talking to them is very important and connecting to them beforehand.
Love that. Thank you for summarizing that so beautifully. And I realize we've taken up a fair amount of your time, but before I let you go, I'd love to hear about any resources that you might recommend our users listen to, and anything we might have missed that's important to know about Ayurveda.
Resources wise, I find it very hard to recommend something like a book or so. It's, I would say, it's a little bit diluted in the West, the way Ayurveda is described and put forward.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't tend to recommend any particular book or something, but one of the simplest Vedic scriptures that anybody can read and understand, or to start Ayurvedic journey, would be Ashtanga Hridaya,
Mm-hmm.
which is like a Ayurvedic book. There are many English translations that are available that one can actually buy and read. There are so many contemporary and modern authors who have fairly tried to put forward or explain Ayurveda in a simpler form. Like Dr. Vasant Lad, I think he has a couple of books which are like for general books which are okay to get started with. Yeah, I think that
I
is
agree. Dr. Vasant Lad is usually a good place to start in my experience, that simplifies the information, especially for a Western audience. And I do love the tip to around Ashtang Hridaya and trying to read that. Of course, I do love that you're sharing so selflessly and copiously on your Instagram. And that's where I first fell in love with your work and have since been wanting to have a conversation with you and have you on our podcast. So that's another resource I will throw out. If there's anything else you'd like to add before we let you go.
Yeah, I think one thing I would say is that call it my kind of like personal learning through practicing Ayurveda and then trying to make myself a better person and my own personal journey. I would say Ayurveda is very vast, like an ocean, and it is a Vedic scripture for that reason, I guess. But begin Ayurveda, to actually start incorporating Ayurveda, we don't need to know or have all this knowledge at all. What I understood over all these years is that it can be as simple as you just becoming aware about a simple thing like how you feel when you wake up first thing in the morning. Do you feel energetic? How you feel after releasing bowels? Do you feel lighter? And whether are you actually feeling hungry and then eating food, or is it your emotion that is driving you to eat food? And how well do you understand yourself? Like if you are, especially this question is for women, how well can you understand what phase of the cycle you are? It's not about the names of the cycle that you are in, but about you, do you know how your energy can change at different phases? Like before period, how is your mood? How is your physical energy? Do you have a clue of what is happening internally without the jargon of knowing these terms and terminology and stuff? I think these are some of the important questions that we should ask ourselves. And that's all. That is what Ayurveda wanted us to do. So to start somewhere, to become aware and to pay attention to our body and the subtle signs that it gives us at any given moment, because health is second to second changing. I can quickly become sick if I go and now eat or drink some ice water for the next 1 or 2 hours, or eat something, or like even now I'm talking continuously, which can increase vata, right? So there is no guarantee for your health is going to stay forever in a similar way. But the only guarantee that we have is if you are conscious enough to notice those changes, and if you're conscious enough to adapt to whatever things that are happening in your life. So that is what Ayurveda is all about. It's just that simple.
Beautiful sentiment and reminder to end on. Once again, I cannot thank you enough for making the time to speak with me today. I know I have personally learned so much from this conversation. And I think I'm safe in saying that, as will so many people who follow our journey with Ayurveda. So thank you again. And I look forward to bringing more of you to our audience via various formats. So more to come, and talk to you soon. Thank you, Dr. Varalakshmi.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to speak with you.
Please visit drvaralakshmi.com to learn more about Dr. Varalakshmi's work in Ayurveda and follow her on Instagram for insightful wellness tips. That is DRVARALAKSHMI for both website and Instagram. As we conclude this episode, we invite you to delve deeper into the world of Ayurveda with Uma. Please subscribe to the Uma Ayurveda podcast to continue this transformative journey with our series of conversations that we hope you'll find enlightening. Visit umaoils.com, that is umaoils.com, for an even more immersive experience, exploring not only our luxury Ayurveda products, but also an array of inspired wellness insight and lifestyle tips.